Good afternoon.
Good
afternoon.
Good day.
So this episode coming up, it's a special episode, different than what we usually have been doing.
Not quite like a very special episode like in sitcoms, but it is in fact a very special episode. I'm really excited about this. No recap, but we saw two people that we had not seen in a very long time. We are talking, of course, about the creators of The Middle, Eileen Heisler and DeAnn Heline.
Fabulous women. Their mind, it's so fun getting all the specificities of where certain things came from. Like, you'll find all this out coming up in this upcoming episode, but we go truly through like everything from the beginning, the first pilot, through who's what character in their lives, and all that fun stuff.
Their whole actual career history, like what brought them to The Middle, what led them to The Middle. It was really interesting. It was genuinely interesting. I highly recommend that even if you don't subscribe, we now have this option to just buy one-off episodes. Highly recommend you buy this episode. Yeah.
So if you're listening to this on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it's an abridged version. You still get some really, really great info. But if you're clamoring for a little bit more behind the scenes middle stuff, you can either subscribe monthly, $5, $10, or $12, depending on your budget, or you can buy it as a one-off for $3. All right, we're not going to keep you any longer. We have so much to debrief with Eileen Heisler and DeAnn Heline, so let's get to middling. Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I just realized I have to. I did not even look at myself before this started, and I just.
Oh no.
We didn't all look.
Okay, we're a mess. Okay, sorry.
No. Let me. Do you know where some paper towels are that we can
What
get?
are you doing?
Sorry. I spilled.
Okay, great.
What is happening? I want to say I'm the only one who's still in her chair.
We're having a very middle.
Can we do?
Your teeth look great. Did it get on your clothes or anything?
No, just a little. It's
Okay,
fine.
okay.
It's just water.
You guys are so good at this.
Ivan, this is exactly like the show we're talking about.
Yes.
It's a little crazy.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it so far.
It's so fun for us to show up and you guys are running it and we just have to answer your question. I cannot tell you the joy.
A little changing
my
of the
heart.
table. Yes,
It's
exactly.
Brock is, I think, the best producer.
Oh my God, you have mad
You are,
producing skills.
like-
We can
Thank
tell.
you.
Guys, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Just a couple
and also,
emails.
I just, as I'm listening to it, like, you guys are just like, you guys get, like, you're just so smart about the way you describe it and describe
Oh.
the process and describe. And I think, I wouldn't describe it that well. That's so great.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, guys. I would have been thinking about it the whole time.
We didn't do last looks.
I've truly done full, like, interviews, everything with just, like, something in my teeth.
Every
I was like,
picture, I
not
like
this one.
zoom in. I'm like, I gotta fucking.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yes.
we're back.
We're back.
This is exciting.
Hi, guys.
Hi. It's been
No,
years.
we're so
I know,
excited.
we're
We need
so
to calm
excited.
down. We're happy to see you guys.
Our guests today, if you didn't already know, are people we mention on the podcast multiple times per episode. They are the driving creative force behind the show that you all love. And the reason you're listening to this right now. And responsible for both of our careers. Eileen Heisler from Chicago, Illinois, and DeAnn from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Born in Muncie, Indiana, but raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah.
Okay. They first met when they were assigned to the same dorm at Indiana University.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
It's good.
And I have a whole spiel here, but I actually think I'd rather you tell us a little bit of the origin story. I'll let Brock just continue the introduction, but
Sure.
I want to hear about
We
how
want to
you
hear that. We want to hear the origin
Yeah.
story. So they've
Yeah.
written on some of the most iconic TV shows, including Doogie Howser, one of my mother's favorites, Roseanne, Murphy Brown, Ellen, and of course they've created numerous series, including Three Sisters, Lipstick Jungle, the spinoff of Brad and Susu in the City, and of course ABC's The Middle. So I think everyone listening to this podcast knows that you two have the ability to make millions of people laugh. But what I don't think people realize is that you can go beyond creating funny and specific characters, but you also add a layer of heart and humanity, which I think sets The Middle apart, and a reason why I think so many people connect to it. So Eden and I know we can speak for both of us when I say we're so excited to have you, the creators and
So
showrunners of
exciting.
The Middle, Eileen Heisler and DeAnn Heline.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh, and I just want to say, you guys, like, I'm such a fan of the podcast. You guys are doing such
Oh,
a good
yeah.
job. Seriously.
Oh, God. Oh, thank
Yeah,
God.
we're so
Oh, God.
proud of you.
I love it. It's so exciting, and you two together are adorable. And the only downside is that it just makes me realize how much Susu in the City should have gone.
Yeah,
Oh my
ridiculous.
Because I'm like, every week when I listen to you guys, I'm like, oh, this would have been so funny. This would have been so good. But you guys are just doing a bang up job, and it's so much fun to listen.
Yeah, we're so
Thank
proud.
you.
And we've known you since you were
I know.
little bitties. And so it's so
You've seen us
exciting.
evolve and grow and do all the things.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
So I think we use the term every single episode. Can you just describe to audiences really quickly what a showrunner is and what a showrunner does for a series?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I know
It's
it's
a
the right.
big
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a big. You can see why we're so tired. I mean, a showrunner is the creative head of the whole operation of the show, and you're kind of you're holding the pencil. You're the one who is really in charge of getting the vision of the show out from writing to props to casting to everything to being on the stage and making sure it's filmed and who's the hiring is the directors and what am I feel like you have something to say that
Yeah,
I'm not saying. It's even better.
all of that. I mean, it is like a lot of times it used to be that the showrunner was always the creator, but sometimes creators leave the show and then there's a new showrunner, so it's not always the creator,
That's
but
right.
usually it is, and you have it's your vision, but you're doing everything. I mean, every concept meeting, every decision, here's a keychain for Sue, which keychain
Yeah.
do you like, and like every single wardrobe. I don't like that Brad shirt, bring another Brad shirt.
Yeah.
So the smallest decision to obviously the bigger tone of the show and what it is and editing. I mean, all of it. It's a huge job. And we're lucky that we had two of us to kind of,
And you also have we have to give props to Warner, our magnificent line producer, who does those things like we look at budgets and look at them and sign off on them and things. But when we say we want Brick in a bookmark suit, or we want this costume, can we do that? And he makes the little magic of the numbers and says yes, you can do that, or no, you can't do that. So we get to focus more on the creative. But it's hiring and firing and everything. It's really like
you're also talking to the network and to the studio, and
Yeah.
you're getting notes from them.
That's right.
And
You're
especially
managing
at
up,
the
managing
beginning,
down.
there's a lot of notes coming in, and so you're dealing with that. So you're dealing with all the business side of it, and you're dealing with the creative side of it.
You truly have to have two sides of your brain
Yeah.
working at all
Absolutely.
times.
Because you're writing, and
Of
in the middle
course.
of it all, you're writing episodes, and then interrupted, and also just dealing with so many things.
Yeah,
It's a giant job.
And I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand how hard a showrunner job can be, because you have to be able to see the picture overall, whether from a series perspective or that particular season,
Right.
while also answering the minute questions about a keychain, right?
Yes.
It's all those little things and the overall picture.
And the little things are bigger things.
Of course, they
So
all
it's
add up to the bigger things, of course.
Exactly, yeah.
No, and you walk. Sometimes it's like being the. It's like the president of the United States is this. You're the president of the middle. So you walk down a hall and people are like, you're like, I see you. And people lurk in doorways holding wardrobe and, asking you to approve things. And it really, people can't move on until they talk to you. And so it is a lot. Great.
Over the years, though, is it sort of like, because that's actually a really good analogy, the presidency, because you have all these cabinets, and so you can't you're the final say on everything, but is it sort of is it way more work in season 1 and 2 until you start really delegating and trusting your department heads to sort of make some decisions? Did you sort of relax over the 9 years? A little
We
bit.
relaxed last week, I think, finally. But
You do, because for sure, at the beginning, part of your job is you're explaining the tone to everything. This is a silly little example, but I remember, I think it was early on, maybe the second or third episode, and we said there's a box of
donut
box of donuts, the hex of a box of donuts on the thing. Well, we show up and it's like a fancy, from a Parisian.
It's pink.
And we're
with
like, oh, no. It's the hex would have donuts from the Frugal Hoosier or from the grocery store. And so, they just don't know. You haven't completely set the tone. And so that's what we mean, every single little,
Yeah.
So you have to say, no, grocery store donuts.
What season was that, though?
What was that?
What
Oh,
season
the
was that?
tone. Oh God, I think it was I think that was somewhere in the first. There was a
Okay.
donut, but it
Okay,
never
okay.
showed
It
up
wasn't-
as pink because I caught it.
Right.
So you never saw it.
But the point being, Yes, as you go, then everyone understands, and so your set decorator and your prop guy, everybody. So everyone pretty much knows the characters and they know the show, and so at that point you could relax a ton, and the writers too.
It gets much easier. It's always hard, but you realize that you can say, "Go check this wardrobe," and that they know, or they'll be scared sometimes and call you and say, "I'm just doing this. Is that okay?" But the nice thing is that you hire talented people, you teach them, and it's like you're all pitching finally into the same bucket. But at the beginning, you don't even know. You know the tone that you think it is, but as it goes, you learn things. So you're still. I remember in the first episode, after the pilot, you're going, "Oh, the network bought a show. Is this the show? Are these the same people? What do we do? How much do Frankie and Mike kiss? How much do you do that? What's funny? What
Things
works?"
you don't know to ask yourself until they actually appear.
And it comes and you don't know the language, and then you learn the language, as it goes.
And you see what the actors do well and don't do well, and you write to that. So all of that.
Sure. So the short answer is yes, it does get easier. It's still hard, but it's much easier.
I'm not saying I am not saying like, oh, so it becomes like a piece of cake. I'm just saying it probably. I know that I feel like. The beauty of being on a long running show is
it's
that
a relief when you know.
And by the way, that's why we got asked many times to develop in the course of running the show a lot of showrunners do step aside and have someone else. And we always they wanted us to develop other things, but we felt like. It's like we're in the sweet spot right now. This is
worked
good.
Our life for this.
We love this show. We love our cast. We love our writers. Everyone now, we're in the groove and everyone knows what they're doing. So why do I want to leave that to start something else, which is start at the beginning? I mean, that's hard.
Yeah. And it's cool. You realize that as the seasons roll on, the show exists. It has a language, and the hex become more real, and the house becomes more real, and it's easier for everyone to know what they would do or what their things look like.
It's a little more visceral.
Yeah.
So now we know that what you did on the middle. Let's back up a couple years, just a few. You two met at Indiana University, correct?
Yes.
Dorm roommates or just in the same building?
We have a meet cute.
Oh, you have a meet cute. Let's hear it.
I ended up being suite mates, but we have a meet cute.
Oh, good.
Because I was somehow in the dorm, I put 5 choices of dorms and they gave me number 6 in a very Sue Hag sort of way. And I ended up in the Virgin Vault, as they called it, which was just only people from Indiana. It was all girls. Nobody wanted to be there. It was horrible. But at the beginning, I met eyes with, not DeAnn yet, but someone that it turned out I had known from camp. So we kind of paired up and we're like, we want to live together at some point. So I kind of through the process of the first couple months of school, chewed my way out and Shelley's way out of that dorm. And they said a room opened up and it was on the other side of the bathroom from DeAnn and her roommate. And when I met DeAnn, she was in little shorty, shiny navy blue shorts, some sort of workout thing with fair hair, I believe. And I knocked on the door and I was like, "Hi, we're going to be your new roommates," and blah blah blah. And little did I know that on the board, DeAnn had written a note to her roommate that said "Oh shit, we have suite mates," because they had this empty room on the other side of the bathroom.
Party room.
So they were not room. So I'm going, "We're gonna move in," and DeAnn's going, "That's just great," kind of trying to hold her back and copy that. And so we didn't know. I didn't know till a little bit later that she initially was not so excited, but we were suite mates, and the 4 of us ended up hanging out together all the time, and we became friends.
And funny, I think the first time you guys moved in, my mom was visiting, and she wanted me to frost her hair.
Yes, there was
the nose cap. And we used that.
Yes, the Marsha Mason introduction was how I met DeAnn's mom.
Oh, really?
With her head in a frosting cap.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
and
so
dancing
fun.
around. Yes.
Yeah, and so DeAnn and I met there, and then we became friends over those years. And then I wanted to transfer. I realized Indiana's not the place for me. I started talking about NYU. Then DeAnn started talking about NYU. And then we found out, I didn't know. I knew I was going to go, and then I wasn't sure DeAnn was going to go. But then that summer, she decided to go.
To NYU.
And we decided we might as well live there together.
Oh, my gosh.
We don't know anyone else, so let's be roommates. And so then at NYU, you were in theater, I was in film. But then Eileen transferred over to film, and we would just help each other and be in each other's projects and help each other.
Yeah.
And so then it just evolved very naturally for us to start, writing scripts.
I was going to say,
together.
what does that conversation look like? Of let's write something together, let's be creative forces together, let's be a duo.
It was kind of a weirdly natural evolution because, I would act in her project, she would act in things. We would sit on the beds, and we both had the great ability to sleep while someone else was typing on a typewriter, and so we would just be I'm going to bed, full lights on. One would go to bed. We were really good roommates. Yeah, typing the last minute always, as we did it. I think it just kind of evolved into, I ended up changing. I'd been a theater major. You might not know that. And I had like an epiphany while an exercise in the class was like eating an orange. And I was like, I don't want to eat an orange. I want to tell someone else to eat an orange. This is not for me. So I called my parents like, I'm going to change major. I know I've changed schools. Now I'm going to change majors again. And I'd seen what DeAnn was doing and I liked that. So then I became a film and TV major. And it was just a natural evolution that we decided maybe we should write together. I don't know.
So we started just like writing spec scripts in New York while we were being PAs, for different people.
Well, we asked Vij this. What was your spec script?
Our first spec, first we did, our first spec script was Designing Women, I think.
It was a Designing Women.
Oh, I love
and
Designing Women.
We did a Designing Women and then we did a Newhart as well.
Sure.
They were all
to date ourselves,
And the one that really got us our like real work was a Seinfeld.
Oh, great.
Oh, what was the plot? Do you remember?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It was about a communion wafer. It was based on
real life.
a weirdly, sadly true story. But it was based on a true story that had happened to DeAnn's sadly, his boyfriend had died when we were in college. And she went to this funeral, and his best friend was Jewish, and he was Catholic. And the family, during the course of the funeral...
Everyone went up to receive communion, and the father was overcome and didn't want the Jewish friend, to feel left out. So he went up and said, please join us. And so he was kind of like, okay. And so he went up and received communion or whatever. So we go back to the house later, and I go upstairs and I hear people talking. Oh, no. I go in, and this friend is there with some other friends, and he's like, I don't know what to do. And we're like, what? And he reached and he had the communion wafer in his hand, like he didn't take it. Because he's like, it's the body of Christ. I can't take the body of Christ.
I can't throw it out.
What do I throw it out? What do I do? And so then everyone's talking about, you should burn it. You can't burn it. Do you flush it down the toilet? You can't flush it down the toilet. Like how to get rid of it or whatever. So eventually an adult came in and said, I'll just take it, and took it, and it was all fine.
Right.
We put that incident in the spec Seinfeld.
Yeah,
they got us a lot of attention.
They had a friend who was a performance artist in it, and he had relaxed himself to the point of death, which was his performance art. And so he had a funeral. So yes, that occurred in it. And another funny story that was based a little bit on your our B story, and that was based on YouTube. It's a bit of a naughty video after said person died. There was a bit of a naughty video that showed up, and what to do with that. But that got us like all of our. That got us opened a lot of doors for us.
So we moved from New York. We moved out to LA, and then we're still writing spec scripts. Wrote the Seinfeld. Again, we're also working as PAs and assistants and all that. And then we got the opportunity to pitch on Doogie Howser.
Yeah, I was an assistant on Doogie Howser, and a guy came in one day and into the production office, and he's like, "Oh, I need to get some scripts," and I'm like, "Oh, why?" And he said, "Oh, I was selling Stephen Bochco a car, and now I'm going to go into pitch." I'm
my gosh!
Oh, good for you, awesome! And I called him like, "People are selling Bochco cars. Or get pitch. We got to freaking make a move here." So I did, and I asked the executive producers. I said, DeAnn and I, they already knew that we wrote, but nothing really had happened. And I said, we have a lot of ideas, which we didn't at the time, and we would like to come and pitch to you. And they said, okay. And then we pitched a story about...
I still remember we drove onto the lot, onto the Fox lot.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like our big break, like this is going to be it. And I just got paralyzed like in the car. And I'm like, Eileen, I can't get out of the car. Like I literally can't get out. What are we going to do? And like they have to come out here to hear the pitch because I just can't,
hear the pitch, they can come out.
And eventually, Eileen pried me out of the car.
Sure.
And we pitched it, and they loved it, and they bought it.
That was our
Practically,
first
bought it in the room.
How fun.
Okay, so wait, I'm confused because obviously, like, you guys are partners. Like, you were partners. You've been partners forever. But were you both PAs on Doogie Howser?
No,
or
it was
just
me.
you,
And DeAnn
I
was
have a
working
partner.
on a different
I was
show.
working on a different show.
But I had shown, I think one of our earlier specs or something, I'd shown them, and they were like, oh, it's good, but like nothing really happened.
So they bought the script, and then did you become staff writers, or did they?
No, I mean, I had said that I was going to leave being an assistant. I'd been there for 2 years, and that's when we sold the script. And then, but it's really hard to actually go from being an assistant to being a staff writer. They did have us write another script. Subsequently, we wrote another script, not immediately after, but I think maybe a year later or something.
Without technically being on the staff.
We were not on the staff.
Okay.
But then we did get jobs other places. So our first job was on a show called Down the Shore for Fox that had like a very kind of star-studded
great writers,
writing group. And Anna Gunn was in it and all these people. Yeah. And Phil Rosenthal was one of the writers, and Pam Adlon was one of the actors. actors.
Oh,
And we did like
wow.
7 episodes of that. But then our big break was getting onto Roseanne.
Sure.
Right.
Which feels like a nice, it makes, there's parallels to the middle, obviously,
many,
of
many,
course.
of course.
For sure.
Were you staff writers, just
We
like below
started as
staff
staff.
writers,
Story editors, I think.
Were we staff writers ever moving to story editors? Either that or we started as story
I think we
editors.
started.
Is this
story
season
editors.
1? When did you guys join Roseanne?
No, it was season 5.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was our like big.
Sure.
And we actually had gotten 2 jobs like in one day because we got offered the Roseanne job and Wings also, that show, if you remember.
don't know if
Those
I know
creators
Wings.
went on
Probably
to
know
do
that one, yeah.
probably don't, but it ran for several years. It was about a little airport, but it was the
heard of
creators
this.
of
Frasier.
Frasier.
Oh.
But we got, DeAnn was flying somewhere, and I remember it was like we got 2 offers, and then we had to
Wow.
take Roseanne.
Yeah.
So you guys
Wow.
have Roseanne, you have, obviously Murphy Brown and the other shows you're writing on. What was your first pilot that was made, right, that you two created? And did it get picked up?
Wasn't it?
Well, it got made, but not with us.
No, it was so terrible. We did a thing called the Paul Sorvino, for Paul Sorvino. We created a show for Paul Sorvino because the network, Paul Sorvino had cried on the Oscars about his daughter winning, and everyone thought, oh, he's such a wonderful dad, he should have a show. Needless to say, Paul Sorvino, lovely actor, not a funny man, sorry. And so, but we wrote this family comedy, but it was not going well on its feet because it was not going well. And I think
I remember I was pregnant with my first child,
Oh,
so
God. She was, like,
filled with hormones,
throwing up.
and I remember like it was just the
He just was like an
run-through was a
elephant
disaster
stomping.
to that point where you're like, let's just kill it now. Like let's
We
not,
wanted to kill
like-
it, Oh,
and
no.
we go back and 30 people from the network come
Oh,
in
my
and they're
God.
like, this just isn't
It's not working.
and we're kind of like, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I agree, and then they're like, so here's what we're gonna do. We're going to give you guys like a week off, and you and Eileen just come up with
Like, rethink
something
it.
else, rethink it, like
For him
nothing,
still.
like not even the same premise, just in a week write a whole new show. And I was so
Do they mean a little
hormonal
script or like
that
a-
in
like a
front of the
pitch?
network and all these people, I just start sobbing.
yeah,
I mean,
it was not
so
a fun week.
unprofessional. Like I can't. But so yeah, we went off and we're like, and then we're just like, no, we can't do this. So we kind of pulled out. Of it.
what year? When exactly was this?
Oh,
Was I pregnant?
When
yet?
was
I
your
guess I
daughter
was
born?
pregnant.
Yeah.
So
No, you
yeah,
were
so it would
pregnant.
have been 96, maybe 96, 97.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
pretty. It
Yeah.
was pretty crazy.
But,
But yeah,
the first one that went would have been Three Sisters.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, oh no, wait. Well, yeah, that went. No, but in the loop. Where was in the loop and all that?
Oh. Was in,
Wait
no,
a
that
minute.
was after.
That was after. Okay.
Yeah. No.
No, it was before.
Yeah, sorry.
We can't remember, but we did a great pilot
Yeah,
called
that
In the
was a good-
Loop.
Yeah.
That was a multicam that had Jeff Garland and great people in it.
Oh,
and Jimmy
great.
Burrows directed it. It
Oh.
was like off season in the same way that Susu in the City was and got
Oh.
the same fate, even though it was actually some things that we had, not the middle, but other things, we think we had pilots in the drawer that were better than certain pilots that even got picked up.
Wow.
But then the first one to get picked up was Three Sisters, which went for like 1.5,
Vicki
2
Lewis.
Yeah.
seasons.
Vicki Lewis, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. She was a gas. She is
She's amazing.
she is amazing.
No, she is phenomenal. If you've not seen it, look at Damn Yankees that she did on Broadway, which I have
Okay.
to see live. Shoeless Joe from Hannibal Mo, Vicki Lewis. Look that up.
Okay, okay.
She is just a knockout. Amazing.
She's. I was crying.
Yeah.
I was sobbing, fully sobbing,
Yeah.
laughing during
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
She's
interview.
hilarious.
Yeah, she's
Fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
So then the middle comes along. You're writing, which we just learned this off mic, that you did Lipstick Jungle and the first iteration of the middle
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
We did.
How does that happen?
I don't know how the two ended up at the same time, but
we
yeah,
had a-
I think we kind of wanted to branch out and do an hour long, and so NBC had us,
The
wanted
middle
us
was
to,
first, though, I think, wasn't it?
Was it? Well, they're both happening at the same time.
I don't know, same time. Go ahead. I'll stop.
Anyway, so they wanted us to do Lipstick Jungle, and then at the end, maybe you're right because.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the middle was first.
Was
we
it-
had
sorry,
a
was Lipstick-
pilot. We had an agreement for a blind script commitment, and that's how we first came up with the middle. It was like where they offer you a certain amount of money to. No, am I wrong?
I think you might be wrong because what I was going to say about sorry,
We're just having amnesia in the middle of this podcast. I'm so sorry.
I just want to say this about the middle, which is that with Lipstick Jungle, they kept talking about wish fulfillment, and these women are going to have the best shoes and they're going to have the best lives and everything, because like it's wish fulfillment. And Eileen and I kept saying, like, for me, wish fulfillment, maybe just from living in LA and stuff
Yeah,
too,
for
was
us.
I like where people like neighbors bring you Jello salad and like everyone's there for each other and like. people really are like it means more when people are, like it's a little tougher, and so
Yes.
that was wish fulfillment for us. And so I felt like the middle was kind of in reaction to Lipstick Jungle. That's why I thought Lipstick Jungle was first.
No, I don't know. One of them was first, one of them was second.
Right.
But we had two things going, and then all of a sudden they picked up both of them at once.
Wow.
And then we found out that Lipstick Jungle was going to shoot in New York. So we literally had a pilot here and a pilot in New York at the same time. So we were disappointing somebody every moment that we were working. Somebody was mad.
Were they for different networks? Same
I was gonna say
studio,
Lipstick-
different
Networks.
Networks.
Lipstick was what, NBC?
Different
Yeah.
studios.
NBC.
Yeah.
Oh, different studios?
Different
Did you not have
networks.
like an overall at Warner Brothers
I
or
don't-
something?
we had-
We had one with NBC, and
That's right.
That Lipstick Jungle was that, but then that had ended, and so then we had this script commitment at Warner Brothers. So that's why kind of both at the same time. So literally, she would be casting in LA, I'd be casting in New York. We would switch places, and she'd come
Yeah,
to New
it
York.
was
and I'd
insane.
Well, thank goodness there were two of you.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
crazy. It was really, 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 really crazy. But yeah, so we in that year, had two pilots go, and it was funny because we were at the time, I think we were between deals, and we were working in an office above Jacopo's Pizza in the Palisades. We rented an office, and we literally had my old kitchen table in this office and like a phone. There was nothing else in there, which
And a
maybe
dream.
is a great way to create shows because there's nothing else in there. But occasionally, like male people or something would like open the room and be like, "What the hell is this?" I think someone like there was a robbery in the building. No one touched our thing. They didn't know what it was.
They peeked in. They were like, not here.
That's not anything. So we didn't know, but it was crazy, and that from that room bore those two.
Wow.
things at the same
What a
time.
bizarre! I have to say
Yeah.
that is bizarre. Those shows
Yeah.
are so different that it is.
Yeah, it was
what
crazy.
a weird thing.
And we're
to
like, how do we
It
do
was
two things
weird.
at once? We were just
Yeah.
like, yeehaw,
And
but
as a
it
matter
was
of fact,
really hard.
I remember because I think that Lipstick Jungle was shooting first, so we were busy doing that, and then I remember we went back to LA, and I think we got a call from the agent like, ABC's like, where's that outline? Like they're
Yeah.
kind of getting pissed, So we're like, oh shit. Like, and we had sold the show, and in the room they loved it. I mean,
Sure.
ABC loved
Yeah,
it.
the middles had
and
sold
we,
in the room.
We really knew what it was in terms of the characters and what the show would be, but we didn't know what the pilot was going to be. And I remember we were just so fried from going back and forth, and we sat at this kitchen table above Jacopo's.
Yeah.
And we're like, the outline has to be turned in tomorrow, and we have no idea what it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Eileen's like, okay, I'm just going to start writing
I'm
stuff
doing
down.
it,
And God bless Eileen. She's just like, she's in this.
I
and
pulled
then
this from the pitch and this, and
Zoom
she's in a
comes in,
Superwoman
and then-
outfit. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but it was,
and
it was
I'm
crazy.
just kind of like paralyzed, like, oh, like, I'm just like a baby, like my head's mopping around. I don't know.
It's a good thing about having a partner.
Right.
So you don't melt at once. That's the good thing.
Because I was frightened. She
Yeah,
was
I
just
was
like,
like-
this. And we're like, well, I don't know if it's a story yet, but we're introducing the people, but let's just turn it in and let's just see. And honestly, that was really what it ended up being.
Yeah, it
which
had
was
a lot of the
crazy.
greatest hits from our pitch.
Yeah.
Where
Great.
we had like shown pictures of my son who had the world's worst picture in like second grade and that like sold the pilot.
That
We
was
had said
Brick, yeah.
and that was Brick. And we had said middle class, middle age, middle of the country, and we had talked about Frankie being a person who would be on a test drive and drive her kid to school, and that was in the pitch. And so we were just like, what'd they laugh at in the pitch? And just like
And start
grabbed
doing
all the
that.
stuff and somehow it came.
So, okay, so then all these years later, what? Because you made the pilot, you made it,
Yeah.
and now it's leaked. Like we've all seen it.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No. So what happened? You made it- well, there's-
yes. What happened? Because and I love Ricky Lake.
Yes,
I
she's
love-
she's lovely. I believe she was miscast.
Yes.
We believed she was miscast at the time. It was sort of a situation.
even at the time you could feel it.
It
Got
was
it.
a situation that just occurred where
Well, but part of it is, when you go to do something like
Yes.
this, they're not always willing to, take the swing on anybody. Like they feel like you have to bring eyeballs to it. So they want a name. They want some sort of name. And
Sure.
Patty wasn't available at the time, and you're going through
There
the
was
list.
no- it was
And,
not a good
so
fertile
you're-
time.
So she wasn't available. She was doing
With
the,
Kelsey Grammer, the
Yeah.
Back to You.
Back to You.
Yeah.
it was just a hell of a time casting. It was like
So-
the fates were not with us.
So we kept, we went through a lot of named people, but no one was great, but the network was never going to sign off on someone who was just people didn't know.
Yeah.
So, you're very limited as
Totally.
to what, and I do think, Ricky's great and she was lovely. It just wasn't a right fit.
No, and it was in the making of that pilot. It was kind of, I think we knew it wasn't coming to fruition the way it was in our minds, in our script. And we had a great director, we had all the things, but it was like the fairy dust was not with us, and we felt it.
Is that heartbreaking in the moment?
Heartbreaking.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it was like DeAnn, who never is on set, ended up. I was in an editing room for Lipstick Junk because I, at a certain point, this is my melt. I can't watch this anymore. But I felt in some way like it wasn't working. And so DeAnn was on the set, and it was just kind of like, let's try to make this as good, best as we can. We've invited all these people to participate with us, and there it was. But we felt sort of like this iteration should not be picked up.
And also, it was just a darker tone.
It was
felt
different.
much
It
more
was.
indie,
And literally darker.
And
too, from a color
darker. All
palette.
the
Yeah.
characters were darker. And I mean, the only good thing to come out of it is we got Atticus, who was amazing,
Atticus was
fabulous.
He was in the original pilot.
Phenomenally
And,
tiny.
The Shining, of all the actors, he stands
He
out
was
to me the most.
amazing, a little
Absolutely.
tiny person.
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was just a weird thing where we, it was kind of a heartbreak, but it was a heartbreak in the process, and that we believed this was not going to be the iteration of the middle that survived. And then so time went, it didn't go, but it was a heartbreaker, because we really loved the script and we really felt that we had something. And time went on, and there was a writer's strike, and there was a recession, and I had this notebook, this brightly colored notebook that had like kind of iconic Midwestern pop culture things on it, and I would carry this notebook around, and I just felt like this is not done, and I feel so sad because I was like, the world is coming around to where the middle should exist, and I was really sad it hadn't happened. And then our agent sat down with us after the writer's strike, and he said the networks don't feel they have all the scripts that they hoped they would. Or he said, what do you guys want to do? And we said, I don't feel like we're done with the middle. And he said, okay, let me make that happen.
So wait, because that's always been my question.
Yeah.
Of like, that does not happen.
Yes.
You don't get a
Yeah.
second chance.
No.
And it wasn't
Thank you.
instant for us to be shooting.
So
it.
walk me through this. You shoot the pilot. Nobody likes it.
Years go by.
And
Goes by.
years.
Something-
Well, not
No,
too many
not
years
that long, a
they
year.
you shoot the pilot network. Oh,
I know I keep being.
yeah. Network studios say not getting picked up.
Right.
You. Okay, bye.
Yeah, go do other
you do
stuff.
Lipstick Jungle, and then it's 2009.
Yeah.
And your reps are like, they want you to do something else, and you go back to Warner Brothers. Did you have to
Yes,
repitch
Jay
it?
did.
Well, yeah, it was hard because, first of all, actually, they didn't reject the first middle right off the
They
bat.
held it.
They held the
still
actors'
liked something about
contracts
it.
because they love the middle. Like, they love the script, they love the concept. So they kind of actually hung on to it for a while. It wasn't a hard no.
Yeah, longer than we thought.
interesting.
Like,
And
it was
so-
weird. We were like, really?
And so then when time went on, they were very open and receptive to
Yes.
the middle coming back. They
Great.
loved it. ABC
Wow.
loved it.
They also-
But it is tricky because the person who has to pay for it, don't forget, is Warner
Is
Brothers.
Peter.
Yes.
Who, by the way, also loved it. But they have to roll out a whole bunch millions more dollars
Yeah.
to do it a second time. And it very rarely happens. What I was going to say
Has it ever
is-
happened? Sorry.
Yeah.
go on.
So the time that it did, which was in there, was
Yes.
2.5 men. No, not 2.5
Yes.
men.
Yes. Big Bang. No, 2.5 Men.
Big Bang. It was Big Bang. No, it was
Oh
Big Bang.
yes, it was because I
Big
knew
Bang.
the original,
That's right.
the original
Yes.
Penny or
Yes,
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so they had that in their
so
head.
I think they did have that, like, well, this kind of worked for Big Bang, so maybe it will work again. But when they said, yes, we love the middle, let's try and do it again.
Oh,
And
there
so
were a lot of hoops to
So
go.
there were some caveats. One is they were like, we'd like it to be like a little brighter. There were certain things like we want to make sure that Frankie kind of has more of a work life and has more of a friend. And I mean, they really liked the script. So they wanted a few little adjustments that weren't really much, and we did that. But the biggest thing is we have to find
Who's
a lead
Frankie?
actress who's Frankie. We're not going to really invest in this. We'll open it up and we'll start casting.
Yeah, we
but
started-
if
we
we
worked on
don't
the script for a
find
while, yeah.
somebody, it has to be. We have to find a lead actress.
Whose idea
Right.
was it? Was Patty? Was
No,
it the network?
It
or
was the network actually
network?
said, and someone at the network said, what do you think? And we got, what do you think of Patricia Heaton? We're like, what do we think of Patricia Heaton? And it's like, yeah, can God do my show? Yes, of course. We love her. And they're like, okay, she might be looking, this is going, so that's a possibility. And we're like, oh my God, that's a possibility. I can't believe it. And so then we went and we had like macaroons or whatever at somewhere on Larchmont with Patty, and we all hit it off.
I know where you had macaroni.
Yeah, the macaroon place, right? So we hit it off, and we had a good time.
What's
and
that
then,
conversation between the three of you look like?
Oh gosh.
Like, Patty is just
So down to
friends
earth.
with
Of
everybody,
course,
so
yeah.
down to earth.
I mean,
It was
she's an Ohio girl,
she
too,
was
yeah.
real- I mean, what I couldn't believe is how quickly she was willing to jump
Yeah,
on
she
and
jumped
be
on within a couple
to be a
days.
mom again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because she had really built her career playing a mom, and so to really sign on and go, okay, I'm going to do another show where I'm a mother or be a mom.
Yeah.
I thought that was surprising, but I think she knows good writing, and I think she thought that this was great, and she loved it. And being from Ohio and being from the Midwest, it spoke to her in a certain way. So she was just easy. I think it was the conversation just flowed.
Yeah, it was weird. I think we just talked about, are these macarons expensive? Blah blah blah. Patty conversation that you always have. And I think it's funny because Patty's agent, I think at first had sent it to her but said, you're not going to like it. Because they thought we were like making fun of the Midwest in a way that Patty understood we were not.
Oh, wow.
And so it was really funny. She was like, let me read it. And then she was like, no, I want to do this. So we had this great conversation. We had fun. And then we left kind of going like, oh my God, like, if Patty Heaton would do it, then we have a show.
Yeah.
And within like a couple days, she said she wanted to do it. And was it green? It was greenlit. No, it wasn't greenlit immediately. Still, I think we were still tweaking the script, and there were still things. And talk to Steve, the president, and you have to jump through this hoop and tell them what the music's going to be, and tell them what you're going to do differently. They don't want to pay for the exact same thing. And so there wasn't like pitching, but there was a little bit of, yes, this will be different. We'll do this. We'll do
All the
this.
communication of what they need to
and
make
then
sure,
they finally greenlit it, and the casting process began to get
wow.
The new.
all of everybody.
To get this one.
To get this little
So
cutie.
we're going to talk about that?
Eden in the most Suhek way. Oh my God.
Yes, that was a Suhek experience. And that's why I was like, when you were like a couple of years, I was like, nope, it was 1 year.
No, it was 1 year.
Because
sorry.
I auditioned for the original pilot.
I cannot even
I
believe.
do not remember that at all.
It is fine. I have said this to G, and
it
he's
goes
like,
even
no,
longer.
this isn't true. Yeah, it goes, oh yeah, I auditioned for the first one, and
I
it
can't
was
even
like,
believe
no
it.
thank you. And I was like,
can't
bye-bye,
even
okay,
believe it.
great.
Did you just come in once to the first one?
For us?
Yes.
Oh my God.
No, nobody liked me. I'm telling you.
We did not like you.
I can say that. I'm confident saying that. I'm not like, there's no victim in this because look at me now.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
everyone-
look at us
You're
9
the
years
podcast
later.
studio.
If we
Look
had
at
not
that.
cast
Middling.
Eden, forget it. No,
everyone is happy, I think, with how it
Yes,
turned out.
100%.
I think and again, G is like, no. G, Charles Wright, the casting director. I personally believe I am a terrible auditioner. I am a fabulous actor.
Yes, you are.
But I am a really bad auditioner. I am I'm just not, I get nervous, I'm not good, blah. And I think someone in that room, I think it was G, who was like, I saw the like nervousness and was like, I think there is something like, I'm going to try to get that part of you. Like I can see behind this, and like, there's that person who's like, I'm not good at this. I don't know. Okay, bye. You're not going to give me direction. That's fine. But so I know that it's like when you don't have, because I think what I understand is that like you did the original one, and then you liked the girl, right?
We had a weird image of her in our head.
Honestly, it was the age a lot,
The
because
age
she
was
was
younger.
younger. And I think, you even talked about this, I think, in the podcast, which is when you were coming into audition, a lot of the people were younger, and we just kind
We
of
didn't know who
They were
she
children.
was. We didn't know.
And so in our minds, like when we first created her, or because of the first pilot,
You want
I think we thought of her as
longevity to
younger.
grow up, so she's
Yeah.
learning.
And this is, this is just, I think, a good lesson for actors and for writers too, which is just that, with there's a joke, casting, or whatever, you have something in your head a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's really important, and maybe we didn't do this enough, is to stay open to whoever and whatever. Maybe they are older. Maybe this is a man instead of a woman, whatever, and just kind of stay open to it. But it's really hard to do.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And it was never like, no, we don't like, it wasn't like that at all. I mean, one thing, I remember a little bit, I think you would come off weeds, and there might have been like a little more darkness in your audition initially.
The
first time. I remember just something. But it was always like, oh, she's good, but I don't know, and who's Sue? And then people go, and more people come. And then, and Julianne was good at reminding us, like, what about Eden? Again. And, and so we were never like, no, we don't want to see her again. It's just this process where you're so upside down, and you're so grateful, like for any actor, you will never have more people rooting for you in a room than in a casting room, because everyone wants to be allowed to stop and find the person so you can
For
stop.
sure.
Stylish process. And so the fact that you kept being back and that you never were like, hey, they saw, I'm not coming, screw them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
that made
almost
the,
were.
I know, and I wouldn't have blamed you in all honesty. I would not have blamed you,
not
but
even
we're
screw
so
them.
grateful.
It was truly like, they don't like me. I'm
Yeah,
doing
what
this.
more can I do for them?
They know my read.
Yeah,
No,
what
but
am-
that, first of all, it is the most Suhek thing to keep coming
Of course.
back,
Yeah,
number one.
of course.
But also, I do think it's just such smart advice for actors, because you just don't know. It's not a matter of not liking. Every time you came in, I remember we thought, oh, she's funny, but
Yeah, I
she's
don't
just
know
too
if she-
old. Or
I-
she's
yeah.
just funny, but
Yes.
this. And it was the kind of thing where we kept seeing other people, and then they kind of fell away.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember, like, I think probably the final time, Julianne, I think we'd even taken people to the studio. And by the way, we took them, and at
They were
the
bad.
studio,
Yeah.
we went,
Nope.
not good.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
wasn't like the studio
And
rejected
then we're
and we
like,
went, no,
what?
we don't
And then
have it.
Julianne is like, can you just look
Yes,
at
look at
Eden
Eden
one more time, you know?
Yeah.
And then we did, and again, it's kind of like just your brain unlocks, and you go, oh wait, this is
Sure.
you
Yeah, and
know?
in the room in the network, it was undeniable. You know, then it was
Yeah.
undeniable. I was like, "What? Of course we have soup." And you know, so that is the story. of the casting.
I
of
think
Beautiful
honestly
Eden.
that is more Suhek that you didn't not like me. You just forgot about me.
Yeah, I think that's very true. The most Suek thing. She was there. I think. Who is she again? Remind me.
But we did cast Anna Hanarajananja.
Yeah,
Right.
We did cast her several times, Anna Hunt. But yeah, and now it's like, how could we even imagine our show
Yeah.
without
Oh,
you?
yeah.
No way,
Oh.
without any of you. But like,
Yeah.
seriously, you know, thank you,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Once it, you know, you're like, it's undeniable. You can't even. There is no other person who would have given us a 9 year. Nobody.
Totally.
If one piece had been missing, no way, 9 years.
I do have to say, I don't know if we can keep this on. I think we can. I don't know if you guys don't want this information being
Let us
out
know.
there, but I have to tell you this regardless, because you know who I just worked with who played my dad in something?
Oh, but who?
What?
John Carroll Lynch.
Oh my God! He's the not Neil.
Oh my God.
Oh no!
That's
working,
so funny.
No, yeah,
Wow.
working with him.
He was lovely, but
He's
yeah.
so lovely,
Yeah.
and he is because he initially he was like, yeah, I screen tested for Mike Heck, and I was like, oh my God, of course
Yes.
you did.
Because
Because G
Yeah.
wouldn't
Of course
tell
you did.
us.
Yeah, he wouldn't tell us.
It's like, I'm not going to tell you. And
But
then
he was like, because I immediately I was like, oh my God, you give Neil Flynn so hard.
Yeah.
Oh my God, everything about you.
Oh, yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, oh, I totally 100%. The character would have been so different.
Yeah, no.
Because he's like Neil in a different world. He's like a little dopier. He's
Yes, he's
comedic
a different
genius, I have
guy.
to say.
Yeah, 100%.
But he's not. He wasn't Mike Hegg.
No,
it's so.
No, and it's so funny with the casting. When you talk about casting, I'll jump. But the casting of Neil, which is so funny, is that we had a long list of people, and we went, oh, that's interesting, and we circled him very, very early. And Neil always thought of himself as a supporting. You know, he's a supporting of whatever. And he was supposed to come in. Actually, it's weird. You know, we were supposed to meet him on this one day, and he missed it because of a
And we're like,
scheduling
"Where's Neil Flynn?
conflict.
Why
And
is
we're
Neil
like,
Flynn here?
where
What
is
happened?"
Neil? What, we were like, how did this happen? Because we had our hopes up for meeting him. And then when he stepped in, we were like, Mike started growing.
That's
from
Of
there.
course. Can we go through characters? And you're writing these characters, and maybe as they evolve, and so who's who in the situation? Are you both Frankie? Is one of you Frankie? Is it your mom's? Who's Sue? Who's Brick?
Yeah.
Who's everyone?
I think we're
both
Frankie.
I think probably the more
Obviously, which part of Frankie is me? Let's guess.
the more frazzled, lazy part.
She's lazy.
No, not lazy in that way.
I am lazy.
You're kind of like
no, I'm not lazy,
you know.
but I'm the who cares. It's
Sure,
not worth
sure,
the
sure.
fight.
Right.
And the timbre of Frankie's voice, our voices
Right.
are similar. I think our rhythms are similar, but the wanting and
More
really
longing,
wanting to
I
do
wanna
a good
do this for the
job
family,
and
yeah.
want to have nice fruit in your bowl.
Oh,
I love
because
that.
I was like, "How are you, Frankie?"
Right?
I'm
no,
not
it's
sure.
not.
I don't
Right.
quite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand.
Oh, that is
I
a
just-
really
kind of
lovely
like
blend of you
always,
two.
Always having like wanting, we'll do this as a family, or we'll do
course.
that.
But
know,
you
like,
do
kind of
that
the
stuff.
longing. That's true. I do.
She does too. So what the frick is she longing for? Seriously. Okay, Frankie's me. All right. No, but like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike is. There's no one picture. I would
Yeah.
just say
It's a mix of an ideal.
It's that Midwestern man. A lot of it was based on my grandfather. In the pilot at the end, Mike has the line, "I told you I love you the day I married you. If anything had changed, I'd let you know." That my grandfather said that to my grandmother. So
Oh my
that, just
gosh.
that kind of, so not specifically him,
Like an
but that-
iconic Midwestern man.
Sure.
And it was really important to us that he not be in sitcoms. You see a lot of doofusy dads
Yes, that was
or
super
dumb
important.
dads, and that was super important that he wasn't that, and that they were very much equals, in the marriage and equal parenting, and that was important to us.
Yeah, that was. But the Mike.
Axel.
But Axel was like an amalgamation, your cousin, a little bit of the way that he was acting. And Ben, my son Ben, weirdly, my son is very smart. He was like a valedictorian, but he has very Axel-like qualities in his occasional nastiness.
Got it.
Certain lines that Axel ended up saying, like unknown, like that came right out of my son's mouth. And I would say, like, don't call me she. And it's like, well, you are a female, aren't you? He's smarty ass. So he's a bit of a sarcastic smartass. So some of that came from him, even though they were only like 9 when the middle began. And then Sue, our beloved Sue, is...
Probably more me in middle school. I did the kung fu fighting, for sure.
No, you
Yes,
didn't.
yes,
you
you
did.
did.
It is 100% true story. 100%
With
true.
the boombox and everything.
Yes.
The boombox, yes.
my gosh.
We had bullies across the street who were the Gloshners, and they
my gosh.
challenged. They kept so they challenged us to a fight after school, and so my friend Sandy and I went home after school and choreographed a fight to kung fu fighting. And at 4:00 when they came over, we're like, hold on a second. We plugged in the boombox and brought it outside, and we did the whole number. And the Gloshners pushed us into the snow and left.
I was going to say, what actually happened after? Did they did they beat you up?
They just
They didn't beat
pushed
us up, but it was
They
snowing
were so
outside. There was snow.
insignificant.
Oh, I
Yeah,
can't wait to
yeah.
get to
So
that
they were
episode
like,
when we
they
recap
pushed
it.
us into the snow.
Oh, there's
and
more
left,
true.
yeah.
There's some that you've done already that there are true stories that you don't even know were true.
Oh, really?
That are in the middle, which we'll save that for later. But yes.
So yeah, probably. I mean, she's
just
her
the
own.
geekiness and the trying.
and like anything, like you brought so much to Sue, as we went on and everything.
They're
Probably-
not the trying,
Yes, the initial, the
And my
the
daughter
goal.
Emery, like she
Emery
did,
is
she
very
did like
Sue-like.
the smiling.
our
people
smile's
smile,
contagious. Emery
really?
did that.
So she has a lot of Sue Heck qualities, and so she was inspired a lot is Sue.
Yeah. And then
And then
And then Brick is very much inspired by my son Justin, who is on the autism spectrum. Some of you've realized that perhaps Brick might have been a bit on the autism
Yes.
spectrum. My son Justin is, and the magic of Brick came from my son Justin. He whispered to himself as a young child. He does not do that anymore. But he did not look down at his chest. That was an Atticus affect that he added to that. But he used to say, like, we're going to the store. He would do that. He was a crazily avid reader, but also just the incredible optimism of Brick and the comfort with who he is. But I even have a little videotape of my son when he was really little reading some of the Brick lines and saying, okay, this is how you do Brick. And it's hilarious.
That's
but
so-
that's like, things that have happened, walking out of the bathroom with your pants still down. These are all things that have occurred. Many, many things have happened that my son has done. So that's Brick. And Brad, I believe my first high school boyfriend was a wee bit gay.
Oh, just a wee bit.
All of ours were.
Was it the limp wrist that gave it away?
The fact that he was incredibly gay and
Right.
his mother was so excited for me and the rest of the girlfriends that he had. But I imagined, in a way, what my parents were thinking when obviously they knew he was gay.
Yes.
And so from thence, Brad was.
Oh, I love that.
I just need to go back for 1 second and just tell you that we're rewatching all the episodes, and my husband he had seen like a clip when we first started dating.
That's probably good.
Nice.
Right?
It was definitely good. He says he's like, I just wanted to make sure you were actually funny.
Oh, I love that.
He was like, you get all like
Smart.
I wasn't. Yeah,
It's good.
He's
It
right.
could be a turnoff.
Yeah.
Totally. You don't want to have the thing where you go to someone's concert and you're like, oh, you can't sing. Like,
Yeah.
But so we're rewatching it, and he had known sort of about the whispering, but he just casually dropped. We were watching the pilot or whatever, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I used to do that too."
Oh
and I was
my
like,
God.
Really?
He whispered
He's a
to
closet
himself.
whisperer.
Yes, I was like, "What?" And he was like, "I think it was like I just wanted to make sure what I said is what I said."
Oh my God. Oh my
But
God.
he did it like he was like, "That's exactly what I did."
Oh my God.
Oh my
I couldn't.
God.
I was like, "Oh, this is really a thing."
Wow.
I thought it was kind of
Wow.
broad, but like,
Right.
no, it's real.
Oh my God.
It's real.
And it's so funny as years went on, my son, there were some things I'd ask, like, he knew a girl in school who had ear flaps like Cindy, all these things. And I'd be like, is it okay? We're going to do this. But I was kind of like, look, if you're going to do a bunch of weird shit, we're going to make some money and comedy out of it. I'm sorry. That is going to happen. And he really did accept it quite pleasantly.
So here's the question that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
And it is actually, I read the rest of the question. It's not the question that I, I don't like. It is a fabulous question that I relate
For the
to.
question.
I thought it was.
What did you think?
What did you think it was
That
going to
was a
say?
different question.
Well, here's the first sentence, which is the balance of being a writer and a mom in particular must be tricky. And I stopped and I was like, no, stop it. Like, people always ask, like, what's that like being a working mom? Like, it's like, what's it like
And
working?
no one asked the dad.
No one ever asks them.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, my husband is like, when he's been working, he's like, I miss them. It's
Yeah,
so
sure, of
also. Oh
course.
my God, I feel like a bad dad.
Right.
But that is not the question
Okay.
at all.
Of course not.
No.
Brock wouldn't ask a question.
Of course
like that.
not.
Jesus.
He wrote down a thoughtful and
Aw.
perfect and like, oh my God, I want to know the answer to this, and I even have an answer to this. Okay. So it must be tricky as a mom in particular and a writer. Are there ever moments in your life where you have to pause and decide whether or not that specific detail of your kid might be too personal?
Oh,
Like, is there like a
That
mother
is-
instinct?
That's a very
Definitely.
good- That's a great
Great question,
question.
Or like
Definitely.
is Justin being like, please don't put that in there? Or
Yeah.
did any of those things happen?
As a matter of fact, when you were talking about that,
Well-
that he did liked a girl who had the hat like Cindy with the flaps, and we're
Yeah,
just like, that's so funny. And Eileen said, I think it'll be too uncomfortable for Justin. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like, like it's just too much, and we can't do. So we didn't for a long time. We didn't, and we didn't, and then we just kept going. Can we? Because it's really funny. And she's like, no. And then finally she's like, all right, I'm going to ask Justin. And then she asked him, and then he said, okay. So then we
did
could,
it.
And so
Good.
that's was like.
But
more
there
of
were
a-
some things you definitely do think about it. And here's a big matzo ball hanging there is the episode The Scratch. Happened to my family.
Oh, did it really?
Oh.
100%. That's where that episode came from. And I won't take too much time about it, but we had a thing where my son Justin was going off on something. It wasn't exactly like the story, but Justin was going off on something, and Adam said, like, Justin, stop it. Like, literally like that. Like with hands on shoulders, for those of you who can't see. And Justin like turned his head, and I believe that Adam's fingernail scratched his neck.
Tiny
So Justin, like, you scratched me, a whole big issue, right? And now Adam feels horrible because he doesn't want to hurt his kid.
course.
So he's like, I did not, that didn't happen, but it did, what happened did happen.
Right.
But he kind of said it didn't happen. So there was a little need inside Justin that knowing that happened. But then Adam he wanted to put a Band-Aid on, like he felt so terrible. Then Justin was at school, and a teacher's like, hey buddy, why do you have a Band-Aid on? And he's like, well, I'm not supposed to say anything because Adam had said,
my gosh.
don't go telling people I hurt you. And he goes, I'm not supposed to, but my dad got mad. And so lo and behold, I, like in the episode, walked into a room with police.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. I was Mike in that. And it was like, holy shit. And it was just a nightmare. And instantly I knew what had happened. Like, it just went, and I knew what happened. Ooh, and it like makes my heart pound when I say that. And then I had a very uncomfortable conversation with my husband, like, why the f*** you put a Band-Aid and all this nonsense and why, all this stuff happened. But there was a social worker. We are the first people in the world to like head off a social worker and literally ask them to come. And we talked to the principal, and she was like, I know you're not child abusers, but we did know when the person was going to show up.
You did?
And yes.
Oh, really?
And yes, they were coming for
There
a
you go.
meeting. It's real. And we were like in that situation of like, we can't like coach him, but yet our fate is in his hands, and it happened. Not the rest of
gosh.
the, my husband had not dated the social worker.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But that was a real, very painful thing. And there was a moment, I think you were saying like, that is an amazing story. I think there was a moment of like, oh my God, are we going to make this into a show? But then it was like, that's a great episode.
I would say that there are times where, if something will first come up and you're like, maybe, a fight you had with your husband or something. But I got to tell you, as a writer, and especially when
Yeah,
you're
you're
doing
thrilled.
26 episodes with 3 storylines
Yeah.
in each episode, it's really hard not to use it. At some
course.
point, usually it just does need a little time. And, you get a little time and then you're like, okay, now we can use
tragedy
it,
plus a little time.
Yeah.
Does,
yeah.
if you don't mind me asking, do like your husbands both know that like any experience we might have might
yeah.
make it onto the page
Oh,
someday?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Sometimes in the middle of the fight, we're like, I know this.
Yeah. You like
Don't
float
you
out
dare
of
go
your
open
body.
final draft right now,
Yeah,
please
yeah.
Right.
don't.
But then you're like, you know
that?
what?
What did you say
Mike
exactly?
is going to say all the shit that you did not say, and he's going to do the right thing. And at one point, I believe I did say to my husband, Mike would not do that. He would back Frankie up in that moment, and he's like, you wrote the character. It's not real. So, yeah.
But that is a good question.
That is a really good question.
Thank you. I think questions that I have, particularly things that I hear a lot, and I assume you hear it even more than I do, is that whenever the middle is talked about, the word underappreciated comes up a lot.
It's a drinking game.
Sure.
We do, in the writer's room, we would like read review. We had the most lovely, critics loved the show.
Of course,
lovely
yeah.
reviews. But every time we're like, okay, if you get to the word underappreciated, we all have to drink. So
Yeah.
it did become a drinking game.
Yeah.
I kind of have, it's a two-pronged question. How did that feel in the moment, in the thick of the middle? And 6 years later, how do you feel about it now? Because I would assume if it were me, being in the middle of it, we're right up next to Modern Family the entire time.
Yeah.
And of course, they have the big splashy awards and this and that. Did that suck? Or were you like, no, this is okay. This is very middle of us.
Yeah.
Kind of a little of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, we were very, very lucky to be on a night with Modern Family,
Yeah.
you know,
If they had loved an Office show, we wouldn't have been
that they created Wednesday night of comedy, because we've had shows before that we've created that were great, and they're kind of stuck on the air, nothing's around them, and then they don't go. So the fact that we were with Modern Family only helped us, and that was great. There was some frustration because, like, publicity and marketing would be.
It all
we
starts at
literally,
9.
yeah, the promo would be Wednesday night comedy. It all starts at 9, and we were on at 8. You know, and
I'd be on the phone with the network. Like, are you actually telling the audience not to turn on until 9? I'm just checking.
That's crazy. I don't remember that.
Wow.
Yeah. And
that
they're-
is frustrating.
And they made a marketing decision to really, really promote Modern Family, and then thinking everyone else will kind of benefit for that. And we did to some extent. But I do feel like we had critics who loved us. We had an audience who loved us. Our audience always, and they did know that. And I think in some ways it sort of became the thing where we don't have to.
We were like
because,
a cactus. We don't.
And then
Yeah.
they moved us from Wednesday night to Tuesday night, and
night.
we still did well. So they they always truly loved the show.
Yeah, we would go
And
to the
we're-
network and they'd be like, "We love your show. Oh my God, we love it so much."
and huge supporters of the show. But there's no doubt that it was frustrating because
Yeah.
it did. I don't think it hurt the show, but I think it could have had even more viewers had they.
Because it all translates to
promoted it
money
more.
sometimes too,
They
right?
didn't use. Here was my frustration, which I said many times during the course: is why are you not using Modern Family to pull? Why aren't you saying critically acclaimed, also critically acclaimed? We had quotes from critics that are like the best American sitcom, about family life and whatever. Great quotes. And I begged for a quote campaign at one point, and they're like, "Here's your quote campaign. Do you like it?" And it was literally like blah, 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 like a million quotes of random people saying like, "Fun show." It was not in any way like treating it with dignity, but like we won a Humanitas. We got nominated. You won your Critics Award, and we got
Yeah.
nominated for that twice for Best Show. So we felt like it made us feel really good that the critics saw. Critics that we had watched when we were younger and earlier in our career gave us a big seal of approval. And partly, I think in some ways, like our underappreciatedness made them champion it. And it made us feel as writers like we had been seen in that way, like they said it was good, but it is frustrating a little bit. Like we won't get an Emmy for there were no Emmys for the middle, and I mean we're so proud of it, and I look back, and even when I look back at it now, I'm like, it's a damn good show. And if anything had been different, maybe its story would have been different, and it would have been the show it was, but it deserved more.
Totally.
Like Stu Heck. It's
But
a
I
Stu
will.
Heck of comedy.
But I will
Yeah.
say though that I think Eileen and I and the writers, I think you guys too.
Yeah.
Like we were just proud of the show.
True.
We were
Of
happy to be
course.
doing the show. And when you say, 6 years on, it's like I still have those regrets that they didn't promote it more. But on the
Doesn't
other
matter.
hand, we were all just like doing the show that we loved, and I'm super proud of the show. And I think we were all the kind of people that like, yes, that would have been great, but it's
okay.
okay like to say I have enough.
Yeah.
I have
Totally.
enough.
No,
And
it's
so
true. And
you
I-
can't get too caught up
Am I the
in
bitter
Yeah.
one who just said all the Emmy stuff? Probably. But yes, no, I think overall, and more as the years go on, also while we were there, as DeAnn said, knowing that the experience that we had of being able to make a show for 9 years that was our vision, and our vision grown bigger than we could have ever imagined, to be able to do that with people that felt like, I'm gonna cry right now,
Yeah.
people who felt like family for 9 years, to have a home and to have every guest star come and say, it's so nice here, I like it here, and to see the fans now that say like, sounds so dumb, I say like the middle's a medicine, but they go like, I had surgery and I watched all the middles and it made me feel better, and all that is so gratifying.
It's there's moments
So
where
proud.
it's so nice. I can only imagine being the creative and people behind it all, but like even the comments that I get of saying like, you and Sue's dynamic watching your guys' episodes helped me
Yeah.
get through my father's death, which is
Yeah,
significant
sure.
and profound, and I can only imagine as actors we're attached to it, but you were attached to it in a way different.
It's like
version than
we
are.
said it's like we were everybody.
Yeah.
In the greatest way. Like we got as much joy of any line that came out of anybody's mouth
Yeah.
as if we'd been, acting it or doing any, like it's it's an amazing thing. It's still truly overwhelming to know that it's grown so big and made friendships like you guys and all the friendships and marriages and babies and it's crazy.
Yeah, and the whole. Sorry, go ahead, honey.
No, I was just gonna say that I do feel like that rant right there was like it really was a perfect Frankie arc monologue. where you were like, I mean, we never won an Emmy. We never won an Emmy. We never won an Emmy. And
Yeah.
but it's enough.
Yeah, she's so calm.
It's enough. Yeah. We all had each other.
Yeah.
Literally.
So true.
That is so true. Just right there.
But I was a little bit of Mike in like Halloween. Halloween, DeAnn was Frankie and I was Mike. Not wanting to dress in a costume.
Oh,
all the
costumes.
Halloween.
All the Halloweens.
Yeah.
See, and she just cuts me down like she just did. It's painful.
It is
see
a
what I go
marriage.
through.
It is your guys' second marriage, isn't
It's
it?
just
Exactly.
pain for so many years.
I think we should. Let's ask about the spinoff.
Yeah, we want to talk about this.
We would love
a
to
little bit.
chit chat about that.
Yes.
We were discussing, we were like, what do we want to like ask about it? And I feel like I just want to say, let's talk about the spinoff.
Yeah,
what do you have to
man.
say?
Oh.
Okay, how the hell? Yes,
still
They
bad.
are so dumb. That's what
here's
I'm
my
kidding,
real
not
question.
dumb, but it's dumb that it didn't go.
How? Okay, well, I actually want to talk about then like the origin of it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what you. I feel like we had different. They were telling us different.
Yeah.
How did it come into your lives?
Well, we were really, we were wrapping up the middle. We weren't like, a year before thinking there was going to be, a spinoff.
You weren't. You were truly just focused
No.
on
We
let's
truly
get
were
the
just
train on the track.
focusing
Yeah.
Getting
on,
to the
and
finish.
we were also tired, and we were trying to, land this huge plane. I mean, that's a huge, and we wanted
successfully.
to always make sure that we ended that show the way it needed to be ended. Like
You didn't spend 8.5 years to like think of something else in the final half.
Right.
Yeah.
That, because we
And
even
the
got
audience
some
wouldn't
offers
be
to do
mad
other
with it.
things
Yeah.
when we're like, no, we need to. This is important to us, and we want to land this right. But so it was only a few months
I think it was a
really
few months.
before the show. We were wrapping it up, and I can't remember who initially came to us.
It was
but-
just the idea that
Yeah.
they would be interested if there
Yeah.
was one and
Yeah.
we didn't do it. And
I am curious.
Yeah.
Do you know who actually came to you? Like, was it?
I know it is. It was your manager.
It's your manager.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
He. In it, I'm like so
He
happy
fooled
that
you, didn't
he
he?
did.
Yeah.
He fooled both of us.
Yeah, we each heard the other thing.
Yes, we each heard. He was like,
'Cause I
they
thought-
really want to do it. They're already on board.
And we were, Nina really wants to do it.
And I actually didn't
Didn't want to do it.
I didn't
really want to do it.
That's so funny.
He
That's such a manager thing to do.
Oh my God.
orchestrated this whole thing,
Oh my
like
God.
fine, got us all on board, got us all so invested.
Right.
Yes.
So invested.
That's so funny.
Good managing.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow.
No, I didn't know if you wanted to say, but yeah,
that's-
it was, because like I said, we were just like, let's do that. And then when he came to us and he was like, was really
Yeah, Eden
into
really
it.
wants to
Eden
do it.
wants to do it.
When did
And-
those phone calls take place? Was it after the season had aired?
No, it was only like a few. We were still shooting.
Okay.
So we were
Four
probably
more, maybe,
We had
three
maybe
more.
3 or 4 episodes left to shoot, maybe. And
Was it? He brought it to me, and like I remember it was before Christmas.
oh,
He was
maybe
like-
it was that.
but maybe-
Could've
yeah,
been.
yeah.
It could have been.
No. Well,
But yeah, when he came to us, I mean, it was kind of like obviously a Sue Heck
We can't
spinoff
not
is
do it.
it's undeniable, honestly. But we were tired of 9 years in
Yeah.
the middle, so we were kind of like,
we
oh my
should have
god.
all just
On the other
hugged
hand,
and known we're all so tired.
we honestly felt like if Eden wants to do this, we are protective of the show
Yeah, they'll do
and
it
the
without
character
us.
because if you do it without us. What if they bring in someone who goes, okay, all the Hecks are dead and only Sue has survived?
Yeah.
And, you
Right.
know,
Right.
we're like, no, wait, you know.
Right.
So we felt like, oh my God, if she really wants to do this, then, we should do it. And then I remember like going to the writer's room and going, some people, might be interested. And they were like, oh my God, yes. Everyone was just like, because it is undeniable.
yeah, it
And
is
so
undeniable.
then
To
don't
everyone but the network. apparently.
No. So
But it was initially. No.
what I was going to say is then I can't remember if we talked or we talked to you, but whatever.
Yeah.
But we said, well, let's find out if the studio or the network would be interested in this. And I remember we set up a meeting. And
Channing.
Eileen and I went into, don't guess, let me tell my story.
It's just gonna be an empty mic because I'm leaving. I'm not good at this. Go ahead.
We went into Peter Roth. And we just said
Peter Roth, the head of Warner Brothers.
Right.
And we said Sue Heck spinoff, and he's like, yes. let's set up a meeting with Channing immediately. You know, it was like, yes. And so then within like a week, just Peter and Eileen and I went into Channing. We said, what about a Sue Heck spinoff? And she's like,
barely
yes,
a pitch,
yes.
like bought in
And
the
at that
room,
point, we hadn't even, we didn't know what it was. It was just like, would you be open to this? She's like, yes, absolutely yes. You know?
Bought in the room. Very
so
excited.
everyone was super excited about it and super excited about the idea. But at that time, we didn't exactly know what it was yet or, you know, and then it kind of took off from there.
No, and it was like, you know, some of our writers were maybe going to do it and then they weren't. And, you know, it was a lengthy process. Was it? Well, like, it started rolling fast. They bought it fast. And then it was, you know, we were tired when we were first writing it, I'll admit.
Yeah.
But but Peter was super excited, and when we first pitched the story, he was so excited. Everybody was excited, and it was a very fast process. I mean, it was incredibly fast because they wanted to shoot fast. And I was saying,
but I'd be curious, like, what was your feeling about it? And what did you think?
Well, I mean, I want to let you finish. If you had more,
no, I was saying it was a quick process. It didn't. One regret I have is that we didn't get to go to Chicago to shoot, but Warner Brothers wouldn't, and I wished they had. But it was fast, and and the decision needed to be fast. And should I finish that thought or ask?
Well, that's a whole longer part.
It's a longer part. I'm going to just listen to Blondie. Go, Eden.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that the quickness of it, I think, is. I have a question. When was the last time you saw the pilot?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it for
I haven't seen
a
it
long
in a while.
time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying you hadn't seen it, period.
Oh, no.
I haven't seen it in a
Okay.
long time.
Yeah. But
Years,
it's been,
probably.
I just watched it recently.
Yeah. So what'd you think?
You were pretty good.
Yeah, it was.
Fabulous.
I was.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
pretty good.
You were
I was
really
pretty good.
Not pretty.
But
Strike pretty.
here's
Very
what
good.
Amazingly
Yeah.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I be perfectly honest though?
Yeah.
I think it was. I think you could I could tell that it was like frantic
For sure.
filming,
Yeah.
and
No,
it did
for
feel
sh-
rushed.
Yes.
and
For
it,
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and I've shown it to a few people.
No,
Tried
it's
to-
not perfect. It was not perfect.
It was not perfect.
No.
And my friend, because I was like, oh, this is an imperfect pilot. However, my friend was like, this absolutely, you're right. It's flawed. It is flawed. But he's like, I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked that they didn't give this a chance because it could have
That's the
fleshed out
thing.
the
It
world.
is. Pilots are flawed.
By the way, they would kill for that now. I mean, you know what I mean? Like where the networks are right now. I mean, the fact that show is not on the air right now is crazy, and they would kill. I mean, that paired with Abbott Elementary, I mean, it would be huge, you know. And you're right. Every pilot, like we did the middle ones, you know, and even the middle pilot, you look at it and you go, well, Axel's not really like that anymore, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
That's a pilot's
That's every
never
pilot.
going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I really want to say that you guys really were amazing.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Eden, you just really stepped into being number one on the call sheet.
No,
and that's
Fabulously.
not an easy thing to do. I mean, for people who don't know, like number one on the call sheet is, you know, yes, you're the main character, but it's also you're setting the tone for the show. You're supporting your other actors,
phenomenal.
how you behave and how, you know, everything about the show. All the actors and all the crew take their cue from number one on the call sheet. And I'm just sorry that people didn't get to see you in that, you know, that you were so lovely and so wonderful and gracious with everyone.
100%.
And also you also took Sue and moved her in a new direction. And I'm just sorry that people didn't get to see that too.
Me too.
Yes, for
Me too.
sure. I mean, you stepped into it, and it was. I think the things that you spotted, the right answer should have been, this should be the right answer. We're going to shoot some scenes in Chicago. We're going to, maybe we'll look at some casting. We're going to slow this down. We're going to do this. There should have been some reshoots. I don't think of your stuff, but some things. There might have been set things they liked or things that happened. But it 100% was a show.
Yeah.
It
And that's
100%
the
was
thing.
a show. Yes,
and
it absolutely was.
What happened? It not getting picked up is, you know, as I was saying, and the other thing, it was at this very strange time where they had to decide just before Thanksgiving. Literally no executives who picked it up were working at ABC at that time.
Right.
Well,
It
just-
went
and
to
it was a
Bob
change.
Iger. It was like
just to clarify.
Yeah.
Usually you do a you would shoot a pilot like in February, March. They look at all the pilots in
Yes,
April
it
and then
could
they
have
pick
been
them up in May. And what the good thing about that is they look at your pilot with all the other pilots.
Absolutely.
And they go, you know, oh yeah, those aren't good. This is good, you know, and you're comparing it, you know. But what happens is we had, because of the schedule, because they didn't want to wait a whole year. Because
That was
then
my question. Is that why it was expedited so quickly?
Because then what happens is the middle ended, and it's like another year and a half almost before Sue in the City, appears. So it became, we're going to shoot it in October, we're going to decide in November,
fast.
and we're going to start, But the problem with that too is that by November they're out of money. So now we don't have a lot of money.
they were
Can't go
brutal
to
on
the
the
so
budget.
what you're asking
Yeah.
somebody to do is make a decision, but I have nothing else to compare it to, and I'm really kind of out of money. So do I want to spend this much money and so if I have to say, then I guess the answer is no, because I'm out of money. And as Eileen
easy
said,
answer is always no.
the people who had championed it and loved it were then gone from the network. So, and by the way, there wasn't like someone new in yet.
was no one.
There was
Right.
literally the new people hadn't come in yet. So there was a big hole.
Channing, who you mentioned, was president of ABC.
Yeah, now
Right, and
she's at
she had
Warner
left.
Brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
But she was in transition, so she
Yeah.
was not in a position to say, I'm going to fight for this.
Well, she wasn't there anymore. By
She
that
wasn't
point.
there. Yeah, that's right. She was
Yeah.
gone. But
Yeah.
during that, right after, I think we were shooting the pilot.
So there was literally a whole, like, almost like no one to decide whether
Right.
it was picked up or not.
It
kinda
was
crazy.
unheard of. The one thing that's interesting when I was saying, as DeAnn was talking about it being in context, the actual middle was the same in that, like, our agent, who also represents the creator of Modern Family, we would be asking, how's our show, their screenings, how's it going? What's going on? I'm not hearing any buzz. There's nothing. There's no buzz, there's no buzz, there's no buzz. Then the middle screened in context, and people were like, whoa, this is good. And then all of a sudden it rolled like a snowball. But it was sort of under everybody's radar. But if it had existed alone in November, who knows? Because
Was there conversations or were you? I would assume you would. Instead of making a pilot, is there like, guys, just to shoot this straight to series? I assume that was a conversation or a
not that
fight.
time.
Not
It's
really.
different
They
now.
just,
It's
and I think network doesn't do that
Doesn't
as
work
much.
that way.
Obviously, streamers pick things up now,
Totally.
and you have 7 or 8 episodes or whatever. But at that time, which is even not that long ago, but it was. They still really did a pilot. Well, they wanted to see how that pilot was going to turn out,
Sure.
and then they didn't. They very rarely just greenlit a whole bunch of episodes. They
Yeah.
didn't usually do that.
Yeah, but I mean, we have to look at the core. I mean, what they were smart enough with the middle to say it's stupid because, the wastebaskets are littered probably with hit shows that never got made. There is so much luck that has to happen for you to get this chance. You can't even. It's another thing. Like as we look back, it's like I cannot believe that it made it through the tangly vines and the twisty and the gnashing teeth. It's like a miracle.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing. It's like the little turtles that try to make it to the ocean and get eaten.
But
so it's
for all
amazing.
those listeners who unfortunately will never
Be
get to
clear.
see the pilot, you were the relationship between you guys.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet.
And Brad was going to come and move to Chicago, and it was going to be the two of them. And as you can see from the podcast, you guys are just so great
You're so
together, and have
sweet.
such great chemistry.
It's hard to
together.
catch lightning in a bottle like
and,
that.
And you guys, it was so fun,
Love you.
and Brad was dancing on or
On the
tried to
car,
dance on a
amazing.
taxi cab, and it would have been really great. And I'm really sad.
Me
it
too.
didn't happen.
It was the thing Eden and I keep going back to is I love in real life the evolution of our friendship. We feel very mature.
so-
We've seen each
Yeah.
other in
You've
many
grown
different.
up. It's
And I love that Brad and Sue in the pilot also had an elevated
Yes,
aspect
yeah,
to them as
fun.
well.
I agree. And you guys, just like I said, you handled that really well because it's important. People want to see the same characters. They want to
Of
see
course.
Brad be Brad, Sue be Sue. But then you just took it to, it felt like they were a few years older, and it felt like there
Yeah.
was just more maturity there. And so it was nice. You guys handled that really well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So do you want to do some? Should we do some blue bag?
I think we should do some blue bag.
Okay,
I
so
have no idea.
you've heard of, I would assume,
think
the
so.
blue bag.
Yeah,
the
I
infamous
bet
blue
I know
bag.
Things.
Yeah,
I hope I
yeah.
can not fail.
We have the infamous blue bag, right?
Amazing.
They're trivia questions, so they're just right on top.
hope we
You can pull
remember.
them up. They're 5 trivia middle-based questions.
Oh my God. I
So I'm
think
going to
I'm
move
gonna
this
be bad at
mic.
this.
I
I'm
think
gonna
I
hand
will
it to you.
probably beat DeAnn. I'm guessing.
Are we guessing together?
Together.
Or
This is
whatever
you
you
guys are a
want.
team in life,
Okay,
so this is
I'm
a team
scared.
effort
Okay,
in
this is number one.
trivia.
Okay.
The question is, okay, pick the correct storyline for the episode Bad Choices, episode 306. Okay. A. Frankie demands major changes in the household when she eats a bag of Axel's toenail clippings.
Wait, what is it? Bad choices?
That's not Bad Choices.
Okay.
I don't know if these are going to be hard or
And
easy.
Edie almost sets her house on fire, and Frankie must find her a caregiver. Oh, this is maybe it is going to be a little bit hard. Frankie might consider apartment living when the house is falling apart. It's 306.
No, it's 3. It can't be that one. Maybe it is the first one. Are you sure?
No,
What was
it's
the toenail.
Major changes is the toenails. The plea is in the thing.
That must
We
be
wrote it.
Must be the second one then.
Okay, I guess I'll say B. Is it right?
Second one?
That is incorrect.
Oh, fudge.
Sorry.
Okay, wait a minute. It's apartment living. Who's bad? Well, they're making bad choices, obviously. Is this when Sue's being naughty?
So I- we were
this is
intentionally
a
tricky.
mislead. Yeah, that was really
That
tricky.
was
is
the Bad
really-
Choices was our storyline.
Bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And so it's the apartment living.
Okay.
Can I tell you
That was sneaky.
that I don't know if you follow any of like our socials, but Brock and I have done these like trivia things for the middle.
Yes, I've seen some of them.
I fail every time. And the main one that I really got, I think, literally 1 out of 10 on, he gave me multiple. He was like, complete the line. He's from this episode.
I
One's
pulled
the
out old
real line.
scripts.
Yeah, one's the real line, and one's a line that he just made up.
Oh my gosh.
I got
But
one
he's good,
right.
right?
Yeah, he was shockingly good, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is actually so hard."
my
I thought I'd be
God.
like, I'll, as soon as I hear it, like I'll remember saying it. No.
I feel like I'd be better at those. This was you were tricky, and now I feel like a failure.
Okay, am I going to do one now?
Okay.
Yes, yes.
This is big
Pull
money.
from our
We're
magic
gonna- I
bag.
can tell you who
Do I have to
directed
do them in
everything.
order,
but-
or-
No, you're fine.
Just
They're
one.
5 in there.
Okay, I'm scared. Come on, big money.
Okay.
Chic glasses.
Oh,
DeAnn.
I don't
Yeah.
know this. On the Warner Brothers Ranch, what stage had the Heck House?
These are
30.
really,
Oh,
really
no.
hard.
I pulled out a call
31?
sheet. I did look.
31. 12. 6.
30 or 31. Is it 30 or
What's your final answer?
Because one's 30 and one's 31. I feel like it's 30.
30.
Is it 30?
No.
Fudge.
Add one.
It's 31.
There it is.
My instinct is 31. My instinct was 31, but then she is so. She gives off an air that she knows what she's
Yeah.
Sure.
doing.
I mean, it's
I
the
told you I
glasses.
You
wouldn't know.
doubt yourself, and it's just this is my life. I cannot talk slow. My therapist tried to make me talk slow, and I said, "You're ruining my comedy." The middle first aired on Wednesday nights at
Why
8.
was your therapist trying to make you talk slow?
It's none of your business.
Mine does too.
Because you can tell when you're hyper and you're doing, you know.
gives me
she wants
this.
you to come, you bring your energy
She just
down.
she just goes.
Yeah, exactly. We might have the same therapist. We don't even know. The middle first aired on Wednesday nights at 8:30. Oh, I think I'm going to know.
You're gonna get this one.
What shows had the 8, 9, and 9:30 time slots on ABC when we first premiered?
Okay,
I get
I
most
know
of them.
this.
8 was Kelsey Grammer
Was
doing
called Hank.
Then there was us at 8:30.
And then
Modern Family was at
and then
9. And what?
Cougar Town?
Correct.
Yes, that's
Ding
right.
ding 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 ding.
That's right. And
Ding, ding,
then
ding.
here's an interesting point of fact about the middle. When Hank bit the dust rather quickly, we were let in by only repeats. We never ever in the middle's entire history was never let in by anything more than a 2.4, which was for a Charlie Brown Christmas repeat. Bam.
Can I just say these are for people
Oh
who
my
aren't
God,
seeing this.
stop
these are,
with the
These
compliments.
cards are
You're
laminated.
gonna give them a big
I went to
head.
Kinko's.
They're like hard. They're like not, flimsy.
Maybe we might hire Brock to run our lives when this is done.
This is impressive. Oh,
I sprung
okay.
for the card stock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all impressive.
Rita Glossner, played
Okay.
by the talented Brooke Shields, absolutely.
Sure.
Appeared in 6 episodes over 6 seasons.
Okay.
Ooh, what 3 seasons did Rita not make it
right.
Is this hard? Is that hard? Does that mean?
No,
That
I
mean?
can't do that. I
Okay,
don't know.
I would have
okay.
no idea.
No idea.
Okay, can you name the
Our
season
brains
she
don't work that
was
way.
in? Because that might be
Or
a
can
little
you?
bit
Do you know the
easier.
episode
Like,
titles of the
She
one
was
she
in
was
the
in?
first episode, first season. She was in episode like
What was the
13
name
or
of the
12.
episode?
12, I
What was
think.
it?
12.
What was the name?
And it was.
She was in the Wind Chimes. I remember that.
Yeah, she was. That was
later,
season
later,
5.
excuse me. The first one is the neighbor. Is it the neighbor?
Yes, it is. And then she was in season 4,
Okay.
as revolving around
The one where she.
something with a garden.
The hose.
Garden
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
That would be
Then the
the
wind
host.
chimes.
And then she was in Halloween.
That was season 7. Correct. The TikTok death.
TikTok
Okay.
Death.
What was that
She in
one
Halloween.
again?
Oh, that's the one that was like a Rod Serling.
Oh,
That's
that
the
was-
one that
Oh,
had
where
the
Atticus
three
did the whole
stories.
thing.
Oh,
Yes,
right.
and she was being Frankie was being chased in the woods.
The funniest about TikTok Death is that anytime we would break a whole episode
Mm-hmm.
and then we would say, okay, now what's the title? And titles are always so hard because
We always find them at the end. We never made the title till the
And
shit
so
breaking news.
whatever we would say, it could be about anything. It could be about, okay, this is the one where Sue is a science project, and we would say, okay, what should the title be? Mitch Hunter, one of the writers, would always say TikTok Death.
It would be like an old murder
because it's
mystery
like an
from the
old
80s.
Matlock murder mystery
Yeah.
from the 80s. And so, yeah, every time, TikTok Death. And so finally, that Halloween episode, we're like, this
That's
could be
it?
TikTok Death. We could do
Yes,
this one.
that's
So it's
right.
kinda
I
fun.
love that. And the weird thing of that episode, for our reader, watcher, listeners at home, that the painting in that episode that weirdly looked like
in the
Atticus
neighbors- yeah.
is real.
Oh,
the
really?
reason that came up is because somebody, a
friend of mine.
fan, a friend of DeAnn, said, I was in this museum in Europe and I saw this painting and it looks like Atticus.
Do the last one? Or
Yes. The other one that Rita Glossner were in, Trip and Fall season 8, and Hex versus the Glossners, the final battle.
So she was in which season did she?
So she wasn't
appear
in 2, 3, and 6.
She started in season 2.
She started in season 1.
Oh, season 1.
Season 1.
She
yeah,
wasn't.
because it was,
She wasn't in 2.
Yes,
not
it was
in 3.
right when we were like gonna get before Corby came, or maybe it was
Okay, got it.
anyway.
Okay.
I think I know this.
Okay.
Do you know this? What is the first line in the pilot? I think it's
Hello?
out. Oh,
Oh,
She's up on
it's
the.
probably hello, hello, but then out here in the middle, right?
what's her final answer?
Because she goes hello,
I'm gonna
hello.
say hello.
Out here in the middle, she says hello first.
It's hello.
but I don't know if it was written. That's why.
Oh,
Yeah, it was. I think it was.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Oh, maybe it was.
at least the final product. I checked this
And then
morning.
it says
There's
out
2
here in the
hellos.
middle.
Yeah. Hello, hello.
Yes. Oh God.
Oh well, that was so fun. So you had a blue bag grab, and now you were
Oh,
so
thank you.
lovely.
Oh,
yeah,
This is so
and
fun.
you brought us the little bag
I
to
would
open.
just say, okay, first of all, I did bring flowers, so
Yes,
that's
yes, yes.
the nicer
They were
thing.
so sweet.
This
Yeah.
is just something based on your previous, I don't know how many podcasts ago you mentioned
You had a-
something, and so I thought you
Yeah,
guys
it's
should
something you
have
mentioned in the
this.
past
No
that
idea
will
what
help
it
you
is.
in life.
No idea what it is. You open
So
it. You open it.
there's one for each of you.
One, so don't fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
As Eden knows, people fight with
I was just about to say, people know that I have twins. Eileen also has twins.
Yes. So we now haven't even talked about the aftermath in life left of coffee.
I know. Well,
I only knew those babies in tummy.
okay.
Oh, this is the greatest thing
Let's
on
see.
Here you go. I'm going to use this too.
They're spider catchers.
earth. This will allow
Oh
you
my
to
goodness!
kindly remove animals.
You guys were
that are
both talking about
insects
spiders
from
and-
your home.
You
And
ha-
look at them.
we
You had a
love
whole- yeah.
we
spiders
use them
as well.
We started using them in the room.
Oh my
We had them on
gosh!
the middle's writer's room, so if we saw a spider, they're very
Take it
humane, and you
safely
just
to-
scoop them up and you
Oh,
can put
I
them
love that.
outside.
Yeah.
And,
Be careful with the spider legs. Occasionally, you can.
You can
amputate a leg.
1 or 2, sure. Oh my god, that is so sweet.
This is so sweet,
and
thoughtful.
thoughtful and funny, and I just thank you guys. That's so
Yeah.
sweet.
Do
And
you
the
think we should
flowers.
clap it out.
Clap it out.
Yes. Okay. In the middle, whenever we would break an episode, which is arduous, 3 to 5 day process. At the end, we'd be, "Are we ready? We ready? Clap it out, everybody!" So,
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you too for doing this. I mean, you as we said at the beginning, you changed our lives. It's been a joy to see you after all these years. The middle is something that connects all of us, but then also connects us to the larger part of the world, which I think is really, really special. And that is because of you too.
And because of you guys.
you
Oh,
guys,
it's very sweet.
And you're wonderful, and our friendship that started such a long time ago.
Yeah, it's really fun to see.
And ours now.
And
Yeah,
yours.
like nearly half our lives now.
Maybe you guys will be almost as old as
Isn't
we're
it nice
about to
that
be,
you guys
and
got
you'll
to
look back.
You guys get to see each other more now.
Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
been yeah, because I mean we would keep in touch, but then really we started reconnecting, and then this idea came about. So then now truly
It's
talking
so
to her every
good.
single day is
Yeah.
so much
Good
fun.
manifesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember? I was going to tell the story on it if we were recording. The funniest. Yeah, I'm sure you do remember when Sue got a new girlfriend.
I was so nervous.
Oh my
I thought
god!
I was
And we
done.
were at this trailer. DeAnn wasn't there.
Lexi?
And it was and you know
No,
your
boyfriend.
boyfriend. Excuse me. Sorry,
Oh.
boyfriend. When you got your
I was
first
like-
boyfriend. Excuse me. And we were at the trailer. It was right before Christmas.
Yeah.
And we're saying bye, whatever. And Brock is so sad, and he's saying bye to everyone. He's giving these big hugs, and we're like, why is he so emotional? What is happening? Then and we're just like, what is? And then all of a sudden we realize, oh my god, he thinks he's not on the show.
I was like, there goes all of Sue's storylines. I'm not gonna fit.
And we knew
Okay.
that we loved him so much that he would be a future partner. And we're like, no, you'll be back. It's okay.
Oh,
But it was
that's
so sweet.
funny.
You were so sweet. And you're saying bye. It's been really great working with you. We're like, why is he dying? What's
Coming
happening?
back. Like, what is the deal?
Yeah. So it was so sweet.
Oh, it's very sweet.
All you little
Well,
youngins all grown up.
Thank you. We'll have to
Thank
have you
you.
back at some point.
Yes.
Maybe we'll recap an episode all together at some point in the future. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be a really
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
one.
We can go,
It'd be fun.
oh, we fought
We'll
about
communicate
that.
on which is a good one to do that with. That'd be a lot of fun to do with
Oh,
you.
that'd be
yeah.
fun.
That would
Oh,
be
yay.
good. Let's do it.
Okay, well, thank
so
you,
much,
guys.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.